Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the ultimate guide to playing Rogue in Marvel Rivals. Now, she's the newest Vanguard to the game with a quite complex kit, but it is also very powerful. She can be a healer there with her punches being able to protect your allies, and her kit is a lot more complex than people realize. With limited movement options, she does have ranged attacks as you see there, and many more cool things about her kit which I'll be breaking down in this video. Now, I guess the first part to talk about is her main punch attack here. Now, each strike is going to do 35 damage on punch until you do the second one, which is a bit delayed, but it does 45 damage there. Now, you kind of want to weave between your abilities here because one thing is interesting is her little block here. It blocks 60% of damage. You don't really want to hold it down though. As you see, the recharge rate is not fantastic on it, so it's actually better to weave it in between your melee strikes, almost similar to how Doctor Strange wants to go about his kit, just giving you the best opportunity. But this is actually our best movement ability because you do have a dash punch from it. We do have a little bit of a dash in our other abilities. These have way too long of a cooldown to use reliably, and they actually have a much better function than us using it on the mobility. So first is her shift ability. This one's actually really good for getting people that are off guard, because it's going to do a big pulling here. So if you have like an iron fist that may be diving your healers, you can literally pop this here. The initial hit when you punch them does 30 damage. It does 40 damage per second whenever you have that area of effect going, and then it does another 30 damage when it pulls them in. This is going to have a large radius of 8 meters, so it's not quite a full 10 meters, but the nice thing about this is you can basically pop this down, and it's going to be good for holding and pulling people in to give them a bit of a burst damage here. So it's nice. You can combo these together with your E, but honestly, the shift is great for, again, if someone overextends and you just need to trap them, you can go ahead here with that. And again, combo your things together, chase them if they run away. That's what's nice about the block there, is you do have that as a backup to this, but this is mainly just used for a bit of extra damage in the pull-in so that you can get the finisher. And I gotta talk about her kick. The E ability here, where you kick them up in the air and you're flying around. This gives you 2 projectiles that do 60 damage each, which is actually pretty crazy. You get a bit of mobility here. This is another nice mobility skill. The dash is a little bit better if you need to get away, but you can flip this and actually fly. So it's a good thing about that is you got a bit of mobility. It only lasts for 3 seconds though, and you move quite slow. So yeah, you may think it's great to move away, but one of the biggest counters to Rogue, unfortunately, is poke. So the Magnetos, the Helas, the Hawkeyes, and when you're up in the air like this, you're just a floating hitbox to them. So it makes it easy for them to pick away at you, but you can use this to be tricky because you can also dive back down. So yeah, it's nice for the mobility to get away, but you can also use it as a bit of you got to be smart with it. If you find that you're in the air and you're getting shot at, maybe dive back down and then use your dash ability to get a bit of momentum going. Again, you're so cooldown dependent that it makes things a little bit difficult. So sometimes you want to save this maybe for a moment where you need to maybe there's a ceiling in an area that you want to kick someone, fly up, and then get to safety that way. That is a good way to use it, but it is a little bit tricky to use that kick. And sometimes you almost want to save it just because. It does have a 10-second cooldown though, so you can use it a bit more than some of the other, I guess, but this is one that you want to save for the moment. You don't want to spam it and use it there. It is a good finisher there because you can kind of displace enemies. One thing I also want to mention about this is if you got a team that's like Brawl heavy, you may be taking the enemy out of their range, or if they're, obviously if they're poke, shooting them up into the air can be a bit of an unexpected way for them to move. So you may be actually making it a little bit harder for your team to hit them too, so just be conscious of that. It's a good defensive and offensive kind of split tool here, but yeah, it's not our best mobility option. Our best mobility option is that defensive stance here. So you can pop it just like this. You don't really want to hold it down because you see there, it drains so fast. That's the problem. It's only going to be there for a few seconds. You do get 60% damage reduction when you're in this state. It's got 100 maximum energy that you can get, and it consumes 60 energy per second, so you have it for less than 2 seconds there. So that's why I think it's best to try and melee wave it in there to avoid a few hits, but don't just spam it and hold it down. That's going to be the best way to use that without burning through it a bit too quickly. So yeah, just something you want to keep in mind. Its best ability is the dash there, so it's something you want to have. That's why I recommend not burning through it, because yeah, you do have to wait for it to replenish, and this is just best used for your right click into the left kick for the dash. And the cool thing about this too is when you block damage, it's actually absorbing it for your next punch. So again, yeah, you can absorb a lot of attacks with this, and then give yourself your empowered punch there. It's weird we got lag in practice, but yeah, block damage and then use it to return a bit of damage. Mostly a movement skill that you can kind of combo into some of these other abilities here, so it all puts together for a really fun play style that is heavy dependent on her cooldowns that you gotta manage. And the main piece of her kit is obviously her ability absorption. Now, I didn't even go to this point yet because this is a very large and nuanced part of her playstyle. Honestly, some of the best things you can farm ults off of, or farm the abilities off of, are Loki clones. She's actually another one similar to Mantis that is a good counter into Loki because she gets the umbrellas from them. So that is pretty crazy, or the lanterns that keeps him safe. Adam Warlock is another nice one. It's kind of fun sometimes to steal like Mantis or Luna as well, because getting a stun as a tank is so crazy, because what you can do is when you steal the stun from like a Luna or something like that, you can then just spit it back out at them and stun a healer, take out a DPS or a tank, and you're in a good position there. The thing, like most, is going to be the easiest to go ahead and steal from, so if you see a thing, you can grab them, but not absolutely the best. I also think the Venom's ultimate, or Venom's skill is really nice, especially if you're brawling in an area, because you can grab it, and it does a fair bit of damage. It's actually a really strong ability. As far as tanks go, Emma's a great one. You get her diamond form for a bunch of tankiness, actually crazy on Rogue. She's a good counter into Emma for that reason. She's also a good counter against Thor, because stealing his Awakening rune is actually pretty crazy too. It gives you a massive DPS spike if you see if you see him. Interestingly enough, Mr. Fantastic, you don't get any abilities from Mr. Fantastic, and any hero that doesn't really have abilities like the Punisher, Hawkeye, Star-Lord, Iron Man, Black Widow, etc. You do get things like Blade's ability, which is pretty fun too for the life steal that you get. But it seems like strategists, from my testing, are the best. Obviously, giving yourself a healing ability is really nice. So there's only two that you can't steal from, that's Rocket and Ultron, so everyone else, with Adam Warlock and Loki's being the absolute best to steal from. Even Gambit's is pretty good, because you can choose to either use the damage or the heal reduction, or to use the other ability there too. Sue, you get the push from Sue, which is okay. Cloak and Dagger is kind of interesting too. I really like getting the bubble from Cloak and Dagger. I had a few games where that made me really tanky. And Groot is actually a pretty funny one to steal as well, because you can put his wall behind him, and then the enemy's healers kind of panic because they don't know how to heal him, and then you can usually take out Groot pretty quickly after that. I don't love Doctor Strange's, because to use it you have to hold the shield up, but it is actually pretty clutch and very defensive if your team needs a very big amount of defense. Magneto's got a nice bubble that you can steal from him too, but honestly, if you're going for a tank, I would recommend grabbing Emma Frost. Groot's, the thing, is really reliable to get, and even someone like Venom or Thor for pretty good damage. Now, as far as duelists go, my recommendation, Magic can be pretty funny because you get her stepping disc, but Wolverine's typically the best, with Blade coming second. Namor gives them your squids, which is kind of funny, but not really the best choice here. And then for healers, honestly, it's Loki and Adam Warlock that are best. And one last thing, you actually get you get maximum health if you absorb a Vanguard here, so 125 max health. They lose 20 health. If you absorb a duelist, you get 20% extra damage. They get 3% less damage. And if you steal from a strategist, you get 20% or 20 healing per second, and they get reduced 4% healing. So you do debuff them a little bit, but it's mostly the buff on yourself. And the team up with Gambit is really good, because you see this big blast wave. It does 55 heal, and it also does a bit of extra damage. It does 5 damage plus 3% of the enemy's maximum health. So not only are you punching harder, you're keeping your team alive. And you can see the Galactabot there is actually just recovering so well. The damage reduction, or the damage that you'll be healing back, is actually pretty crazy. If your team's brawling, yeah, 55 per punch is pretty quick. You can see there we get him back and topped up really quickly. This is just a really nice team up. Don't forget to use it, especially if you're surrounded by your teammates. Always be check and see to make sure you have it applied. And her ultimate, Heartbreaker. 8-second duration. It absorbs. You have to be close to them, and whatever you're looking at, you're going to be absorbing from them. So with this, you absorb for 4% of their ultimate ability per second, only if they have it up to like 70% or above. You can steal 40 or 400 max health from Vanguards. You can steal 35% damage boost from a duelist, and you can get 75 heal per second from a strategist. So yeah, you typically want to kind of blend these depending on what you need. Obviously, the extra health is nice if your healers are on top of it, but if your healers aren't, you can always just go for their healers and get some extra self-healing. And I want to note that the damage from this is not very high. It's 15 per second, but you're not really doing it for the damage. It makes you really tanky, kind of similar to Venom's ult. Although Venom does do damage with his, it makes him an annoying thing to get rid of, and that kind of is how it works with Rogue. She really excels with brawling, so if you can get in close here, like you see they were kind of diving a bit too much, and I was able to pop my ult, dive for the backline, and kind of displace them all. This wasn't like the most optimal, but it was able to get them right off a point there. And then I was able to go ahead here against their own healers, and this is where the dash is kind of nice. I was able to pick up the kill, and here I am using the shield, but using it strategically, so I was able to go ahead and get the Hawkeye there, and then trying to displace the healers again. Now, playing as Rogue, you're likely going to have Gambit on your team too, which means you're going to have his crazy ultimate there. I was able to just jump in and punch their healer. And then the great thing about if you go into another Rogue is you can always just steal the powers back and give yourself that extra life. But yeah, that team up is so crazy with Gambit just because the mobility you get is so useful. There's a nice quick double there. And yeah, you can just absolutely dominate with all that extra mobility you get from jumping. You can save your cooldowns for when you really need them. But honestly, Rogue is really good at going after healers just because it's a little bit unexpected how quickly so you can sometimes take them out. Like that Cloak and Dagger just didn't realize. And then, yeah, they were down. So, but the thing with Rogue, she's really good into Brawl. So like Mr. Fantastic, done. And Doctor Strange, easily countered. His shield doesn't really do much. And that'll get you an easy MVP. And again, your dash is just such a good ability because you can bully healers sometimes really easily here. Like I had the Invisible Woman down to very low health, and I was able to just take out the Luna Snow there, and I was chasing after the Invisible Woman again and able to take her out too. So yeah, this is one of the greatest things about Rogue is that she's not amazing at like any particular role, but she's just good at everything. And if there's an Angela that's bullying you, you can actually do some pretty respectable damage to them here too if they kind of get caught off guard. So that's the beauty of it. There I was trying to go after their healer, but unfortunately sometimes their healers do get away, and I was able to go after the Cloak and Dagger there and then get Cloak and Dagger and the Invisible Woman. So sometimes if you can't get it the first time, you'll be able to get it the next. And you can see there another Rogue using their movement abilities to get away quickly. So that's one of the beauties of it, is saving your cooldowns lets you do that and survive. And this is perfect. They actually tried to rush through and nope, didn't happen. Again, her best ability is honestly being able to displace healers and be able to take them out, just kind of sneaky. That was bad positioning on their behalf, but still being able to go after that like that was pretty cool. Her biggest weakness is any type of poke, like any type of like Hawkeye, Hela, etc. Punisher is going to be strong because they are really good at just being able to punch her or be able to shoot her from distance. You can see there I was able to take out their healer at least. And taking Venom's powers again is just so good because you can then use that ability and just stick on him like glue and you'll be dealing a little bit extra damage. He's probably going to try to get away at that point. I find Venom just run whenever you get their power absorbed because they're afraid of getting it put against them. But yeah, again, Hawkeye is one of your biggest nemesis, so I'd actually recommend putting pressure on them too. Obviously, healers being alive makes it hard, but we were able to take out that Hawkeye pretty quickly there, and then brawl it out with both their healers. Unfortunately, I had very low health here, so that makes it difficult, but always obviously know where your health packs are, and use your dashes sometimes. Like, I would have died if I didn't use my dash there, and then I was able to take out their healers just like that. So, pretty crazy kit that she's got, especially, again, Gambit is such a good team with her because you get your very powerful ability, but also his ultimate's crazy. She is great against tanks like Doctor Strange who rely on their shield and you can just straight up punch through it and displace them, shoot them up into the air like that. But again, your main role is to identify someone like that healer there was not paying attention and try to eliminate just them. And this is a very close game, but we were able to get the W here, and it was very stressful. But sometimes just Rogue's abilities like that to move around and be hard to hit herself. And then we were able to pull the Venom off a point just like that. So that is the ultimate guide to playing Rogue in Marvel Rivals. If you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below. I hope you guys all have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one. That game had 18 final hits. Jeez, she's good.